And we're back.
And we're back.
Oh,
Yeah, it's been a little while.
Little extended break.
Yeah, some family stuff we had to deal with.
Yeah.
Sorry for the break, guys, but we're back.
Life happens, huh?
Yeah, we'll be knocking videos out on a regular basis again.
Yes. So
for all of you that didn't dump us and run to a new channel, thank you.
yes. Yes. No doubt. Yeah, I know. We were so consistent there for so long.
Yep.
Just pounding out every week religiously, and then, like I said, just life happened, and
Had to take a little hiatus for a minute.
yeah,
We're back.
feels good to be back in
Yeah,
here.
sure does. I've missed it.
Yeah, I haven't been in here since. Well, like I said, this week I hopped in here a couple times, fired up the computers because I knew they'd have updates to do. But other than that, I haven't been in here at all.
Man, where to even begin?
Yeah,
Oh,
no.
Lord, there's so much going on.
Right? I don't know.
Seemed like we missed so much. So many things are happening. I'm like, oh, man, we need to podcast about this, you know.
I know. Where do you want to start? There's so many.
Let's do your smoke thing, the fire thing.
Wildfires.
Yeah. What's this theory you're cooking on?
Well, did you see that the majority? I heard that the majority of the wildfires
Yeah.
were arson.
No, I heard that today. Canada was claiming that a bunch of them were arson
So I wanted to
on
see
purpose.
if
Which,
they had any actual numbers.
and I heard a theory from another podcast that
Okay.
was environmentalists.
That were setting the fires.
Yeah, you know what? And look, you got to draw a distinction between what environmentalists used to be. Like we think, you know, tree huggers and, oh, don't cut down the forest. And environmentalists nowadays, which are climate change activists, right? So burn 9 million acres of Canadian forest and then blame it on climate change to get your stuff through, right? To get the public on your side.
Well, it wouldn't be the first time, right?
Right. You know, I would hate to think that people would be that way, but I know they are.
Right. Right.
Definitely would fit.
I'm trying to see if we can find a statistic. I want to know if they have an idea. I want specifically.
I know that
from,
the one in northern Michigan, a buddy of mine, good friend of mine, went up north and was talking to another gentleman, and he said it was his neighbor that started that fire. He started one last year too, apparently, just careless burning, you know.
So it wasn't. Oh, so it was from careless burning. It wasn't
Yeah,
intentional arson.
the one in northern Michigan.
Okay.
Yeah, that one apparently was not arson. That was just being careless. 'Cause, you know, it hadn't rained in a month.
Right.
Everything was dry. You know, the humidity was really low. It was ideal weather for wildfires. But for anyone to equate this to climate change is like some of the worst. And I seen a breakdown on podcast that was showing some of the worst wildfires that there's happened. One was in like the 1800s. It was before the Industrial Revolution and, you know, the carbon footprints and shit. So
Yeah, that's the problem. Is all these articles are trying to link it to
Yeah.
climate change. I'm trying to find one that, because like I said, I'd heard that a lot of them were arson.
man, the pictures I seen out of New York, and man, it was apocalyptic looking, crazy.
Right.
You know, what was it, the George Washington Bridge? I think it's one of them that there on one side of it you couldn't even see the other side. There was so much smoke, and it was just orange haze. We had haze here in Michigan, but not like that. Not that bad.
But
A little smoky smell, and you know the air sucked, no doubt, but
there were 426 active fires, 243 out of control as of June 6th. See, and here's the problem. We don't get the we're not getting the real story, right?
Right.
Like, we,
Yeah, it's
So-
filtered through by the time, you know, what I
So-
mean, everyone's put their tweak to it.
what if you wanted to hide something in the sky,
Hmm.
right?
Okay. I'm interested.
How far-fetched would it be?
I need my tinfoil?
Wait,
Yeah, all right.
Yeah,
Speaking my
how-
language, bro.
how far-fetched would it be if you wanted to hide something, obscure something from the skyline? That some people go out, set some fires, wind directions are just about right, you know, because you forecast the weather out 7-10 days, you know,
Sure.
you can get an idea where low pressure, high pressure is going to be.
And you know the
wind
trajectory of
direction.
whatever you're trying to
Right,
not highlight, right?
right.
Okay. What do
There's
you
some
think?
theories floating around out there that maybe, you know, somebody was intentionally doing this to hide something that,
Let me
they
guess,
want-
another weather balloon?
who knows? That's I don't know.
You know?
That's exactly it, right?
Hmm.
Who knows?
Wow.
Because if you look at the part of the country that the smoke was covering, you
Right.
know, you got Virginia, you got
Northeast,
New York,
yeah.
DC,
Pennsylvania.
you're in Pennsylvania, you know, pretty much, you know,
That
the
whole
Ohio
spot,
Valley,
yeah.
you know, east,
Wow.
you know.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
I
I
hadn't
thought
I
it was
hadn't heard that.
interesting, too.
So now that you say that though, yeah,
Yeah. You know, smoke and mirrors, right?
Right.
It's no different than
there's a lot of smoke and mirrors right now.
right. It's no different than this alien thing.
I was going to bring that up, so I'm glad. You know, we'll segue
Yeah.
into that in a bit after we talk about the smoke. But yeah, because that's where I was going to go with. Because
'Cause-
you know me with my alien obsession, and I got some thoughts on that too. So
I don't know.
what do you think they're trying to hide?
I don't know. That it's just
Do you
all
think they
about-
were hiding the land from something in the sky, or
No,
hiding something in the sky from
Right.
people on land?
right. That's more of the theory. It's like
Wow,
you know, if a
man! Can you imagine that burn 9 million acres of forest just to hide something in there? Like
that is
I
something
wouldn't-
really important,
Yeah, yeah. Huh.
huh? I don't. And who knows, right?
Right.
Like, I mean, you would think radar would still work. You would think that. I don't know.
Would all that smoke and I mean, would that throw radar off
I
too?
don't know.
Yeah, I'm not an expert in this. I don't know. Hey, anyone listening, if you know you got some inside
Yeah.
knowledge of how radar works, like
Drop a comment below.
Throw it in the comments because I
Because
don't.
we know even aircraft, right, can't fly in like certain fog,
Right,
ground planes.
that's kind
you
of
know,
what I was
they'll-
thinking. Yeah, you're following.
I think the
thought-
radar still works for the airplane, but radar works above a certain altitude, right?
Right.
Above
So it's
certain-
like the
so
ground
far, right?
radar, like the tower can't communicate well with the radar with the plane, maybe.
No, I don't think. I think planes.
I mean,
at
not
cer-
communication, but like
but planes at a certain height they can't pick up, right? That's how the drug
Right.
smugglers get in, right?
Yeah.
They fly at low altitude,
Yeah,
and the
underneath the
radars
radar.
can't pick them up, right?
Hmm.
So then you throw some smoke in there too. What could you hide? I don't know. Drones, small drones. I don't know.
planes full of immigrants. Joking.
I don't
Kind
think-
of.
I don't think that's a
Yeah.
problem as far as. That's another thing. That's funny you brought that up. Did you see the amount of illegal immigrants in New York now?
Yeah.
And then did you see the thing about housing
Yep.
these immigrants?
Oh yeah, it's beautiful, isn't it? What,
So-
what did they call that? Well, it was when the military kind of when you have to house the military. It was. Now I'm gonna brain fart.
Yeah.
Yep, brain fart live right on the show. Look at that. Help me, I gotta do it big.
Quartering soldiers.
Yeah, it's quartering soldiers, but there's a certain name for it though. Like what's it called? It's on the tip of my tongue. God, I've heard Tim Pool mention it a couple of times on his show. Like corpus, habeas corpus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know habeas corpus
I think that's what it.
covered. I thought habeas corpus was. Oh, I'm gonna have to look this up for I.
Yeah, let's look it up.
Yeah.
I thought that's
Because
what.
I thought habeas corpus was
right there.
about U.S. troops being used against citizens.
And it might be, but I thought that was part of housing them too, but yeah, I could be wrong. Maybe I misquote that. But yeah, I mean, they're gonna, well, they're gonna say we're not forcing anyone because we're compensating them and it's voluntary. But I mean, it's Pandora's box, right? Once you open it.
Right. Okay, I guess I was wrong even about that. So habeas corpus is
Yeah, give us
challenge and reason or conditions of a person's confinement under color of law. So I don't think we're thinking about the right thing.
No. But there was a word like that for it, a phrase like that for it, but because technically it's unconstitutional. Like, the federal government cannot force you to house soldiers in your home, right? Not that that's a thing anymore, but there was a time in the country where it was,
But
now they're being forced to put, well,
not
I can't say forced, not yet, right? Incentivized to put illegal immigrants in your home.
Yeah.
That's kind of scary. Considering what we just seen one of the immigrants do over in France, was it yesterday at the park?
No, I didn't see that.
Well, we'll have to talk about that too.
I'll find. So, I want to find the wording here.
Before we even get it, look, I am not against immigration. Like, I'm not against different cultures blending all into the country. I think the enrichment, your country is enriched by different cultures and foods, and I love learning about different cultures, and I just want it done legally and controlled, not just an open border, because I was reading a story a couple days ago about a family that was coming up, and there's a section between when you get in northern Mexico before you hit the U.S. border. It's a no man's land that's all controlled by drug cartels, and they were pulled over by people that look like federales or they're police, military, whatever. And they took the dad and shot him in the head. They took the mom and the sister, and they go into sex trafficking. And the 7-year-old little boy, they cut him from pelvis to sternum and took out all his innards and filled him with drugs and then sewed him back up. Who's going to check a little 7-year-old, 8-year-old, 6-year-old kid that's sleeping?
That's terrible.
It's disgusting. Like, this is the kind of shit that's going on down there. Everybody should be against this. Like, kids are disappearing. This ain't right. And this isn't about being against immigration or racism or being against any culture or people. This is just about when you leave it without any sort of controls or oversight. Like, it's just going crazy down there, and that's terrible. Things are happening to people down there. Everybody should be against that.
You would think.
And then I watch these videos of just thousands of people pouring in, just scattering to the wind. Like, you don't know who's coming, who's not. I seen they had a video that had hundreds and hundreds of Chinese men, young men, fighting age men, just lines of them, all coming in. Like, they're not from Honduras or why is that happening? You know what I mean? Like, and they got a few of the guys already off the terrorist watch list that they've caught coming in through there. So I mean, everyone knows that it's wide open. Like, you're not getting just immigrants that are coming here for a job. Like, there's some people that are chasing the dream that want to come here to have a better. Hey, look, man, I'm not gonna lie. If I was in South America, I'd want to take my family to the United States too. Hell yes, I would do the same thing. But we got to be able to screen this and to kind of control this so that crime's not going nuts, like, you know, so they're not killing 7-year-old boys and filling their body cavity with fentanyl. You know, like, this ain't right. What
Well,
the hell does that stand
others-
for?
others are-
Race?
Others would say that, well, that's why we need to make it easier for them to come here, because they have to use these nefarious methods to get here, because it's still, they're still scrutinized, and they're still.
Well, you know what? Is there an argument to be made that the whole system needs to be overhauled and streamlined some? Sure. I would agree with that. I don't want someone to have to wait 10 years for citizenship. I think with, you know, technology and stuff that we have now, should we be able to streamline this and to be able to get people in here reasonably and legally? Sure. But I think you need to know who's coming in, who's not. It was like that. I brought up France yesterday, and you can bring up an article on that if you want for everyone to read. But it was an immigrant that was, he's Middle Eastern. I can't remember if he's from Turkey or, but he was in northern area in Europe or something. He went down to France, and they told him, hey, you got to go to the first country that would offer you asylum, because he was an asylum seeker, and he goes to a park in France with a knife and stabbed 7 little kids, like 2-year-olds, toddlers. He's chasing toddlers around. They actually have video of it. I caught it first on Twitter, and then on YouTube. There's a woman with a stroller running for her life while this guy's chasing, trying to stab her, and I'm like, this world is just, it's crazy. There are some bad people in this world that just, why would you go to a park and stab a bunch of toddlers? Like,
Right. I mean,
yeah, even mentally ill people you would think would know, like, you know, okay, but why little babies, you know, innocent little babies? And, you know, of course, no one there has a gun, right? And they could have stopped that fast. You don't have the right to defend yourself or your family anymore, so it's horrific. It's just, it's horrifying. And the thought of just being there and watching someone stab your 2-year-old, you know, I have a 2.5-year-old. Oh, man. Someone ever tried to,
I don't like these knee-jerk stories though that come out, like, where it's, because I mean that stuff happens here to kids from people that live here, right?
Right.
So that's why I have a problem with these knee-jerk.
But I don't think it's knee-jerk. I think if you just made the whole point, if it happens here already with people here,
Right.
why would you just let, when you don't know who's coming over? You know, some of the reports I heard, Donald Trump was on there claiming that, you know, these countries in South America are emptying their mental institutions and their prisons to get rid of these people, you know? Like, it just makes it even worse. It's bad enough that we have people here that would do that.
Right. Right.
So
I'm just saying, like,
yeah. So I'm not saying like immigrants bad.
Right, but that's
because
what
they knew who this guy was, right? Like,
I don't know. I didn't see this.
He was an asylum seeker, so they did, you know him or know of him. But I'm saying when you have thousands and thousands of people just pouring through without any sort of measures of control of this, you're getting some not good people too. and we have enough problems with that kind of shit happening. Like, and then you're gonna bring strangers into your house and rent them a room. Like,
Well,
is that
okay,
safe?
and here's a theory that I have. You know that electoral college votes are based on population, right?
Exactly.
How many people have left New York in the last 2 or 3 years?
Right, and California.
Right. I know, but
Yep.
let's focus, because this is there's a huge influx of, and this
Going
story
into
is
New
related
York,
to
right.
them trying to get people. So, how convenient would it be for the next census report?
Right.
How many people are living in
Because
your house?
that's not based on citizenship,
right. How many people are living
we
in
know
your
that
house, right?
California already has a couple of extra electoral votes because of the population, because they're sanctuary city or state like New York is with the city. So yeah, they fill the houses up with, illegals, and then you fill out your
You get your census form. How many people are living in your house?
Yeah.
Well, now instead of 3, now there's 4.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any other
I don't know.
explanation
It's just
other than this is political.
Right. I started thinking, okay, we know they're not doing this out of the compassion, goodness
No.
of their heart, right?
Do you
Let's
think
not
any of these
BS ourselves
guys
here.
really care about
No.
these immigrants?
No,
Like,
they're political pawns, right?
Yeah.
So what's the angle here is what I was trying to think. What would they have to gain?
because my God, you got
Well, then
kids coming up missing.
if you look in,
They know that these people are getting pushed into sex trafficking and smuggled all over the place. Like, if they cared even a little, you would not have this happening down there right now. It's inhumane.
yeah, and I don't know the numbers on what percentage of people that cross that happens to, because this is my problem with these right-leaning news outlets come out and they make it sound like 70% of all the kids that come across the border being sex trafficked or cut open and fentanyl stuff into them, when it's really like 0.1%. The rest of them are still with their families, and they get to New York and they get to go
Could
to
be. Yeah.
you know what I'm saying, but, right? And so I try not to focus too much on these fringe stories, but I want to focus
me
on
that you got to take my firearm away because if it saves one child's life while you're opening a border up, and even if it is 0.1%.
well, that's another subject we can
that's
get.
crazy,
That's another
you know?
subject we can.
Stand by
we
your
can-
convictions. If it saves a child's life, like, we should not be turning a blind eye. The drug cartels down there, and then I read a report this morning that now Chinese gangs are down there working with the drug cartels, laundering money back and forth. You can bring that article up. That was on ABL.
I know. Now we're getting really deep in the weeds, though. As far as I'm trying to stay on.
What I'm saying,
Trying
it's
to stay up
about
on
the
your-
border.
Look at this story right here on the computer.
Bring it up so that
Right.
everyone can see it. Yeah,
This-
I agree
right.
with that.
We know that Dems play a long game, right?
Sure, they do. A lot better than conservatives.
Right. Or Republicans, however you want to say it. This is more
No,
what I'm
I
thinking
hate Republicans.
is what
Yeah.
they're, and I don't know. I'm not a political analyst. It's just when I see this thing about, New York offering incentive, there's over 70,000 immigrants are living in the city now. They're trying to find a way to house them. Then you start looking, well, how many electoral college votes they got? Oh, they actually lost one because the
Right.
last census report, they lost a congressional seat. Like,
Sure.
then you start
That
going,
makes sense.
oh, how many people left New York? Well, how do you replace those people? How do you get the
Look, man, they're sticking
electoral
these
college
people
votes,
in
right? Like,
schools and gymnasiums. Like, there's a reason for that. You know what I mean? This isn't empathy to, immigrants and wanting people to come and, what do they say? Make beds. Obama said, pick fruit and make beds. Like, come on,
so what this article said, and this is CNN Politics, it said New York, I forget, some people are just listening, New York to lose House seat and an electoral college vote after falling 89 residents short in census count.
Yeah. And people keep getting thrown in front of subway trains and shit like that. Like, they're going to lose more,
Well, they're going to lose more because more people are going to leave the state.
Yeah.
So then when you look at, these sanctuary states, they don't need necessarily these people to go vote,
Right.
right?
They just
need
credit.
they just need the electoral college votes.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
And I think a lot of people miss that too.
Yeah, because I think it was the last time I had read a report, I think, and I'm bringing up California because that was the one that was in there, but I think it was 2 electoral votes that they got because of illegals, you know.
All they need is numbers. All they need
Yeah,
is
it's numbers, like ballot harvesting and everything else. It's they're very disciplined about that stuff, you know.
well, that's why I didn't want to get too far off in the other stuff because I want to focus on. I want to try to
I'm saying
understand this.
when
I
you
want
know that kind of shit's happening on the border, and you got gangs working together, and like maybe it is only 1,000 kids out of 200,000 that there's kids coming up missing. There's kids getting put, especially nowadays when they're trying to normalize, you know, like child sex and just bad stuff like that. Like any good-hearted person should not be okay with this. And that doesn't mean that you're against immigrants because you want some law and order on the border, you know. It's the actual opposite of that.
Well, and you have to wonder why there's people that don't want law and order and why they don't want an like that. Like, why don't they pass a bill? Why don't they pass some kind of bill to streamline the process, like you were saying?
Right.
Like,
yeah, we could fix that.
Why can't you make it easier and have a better vetting process?
Sure. They don't want it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you gotta start looking at that, right? Like, why do they want chaos? Why do they want people just flooding across?
And
why?
I think in when you strip everything down, I think it really just, there's a battle of good and evil in the world, and you know.
Is it? I mean, is it another nation influencing?
I think some of it. When you got hundreds and hundreds of Chinese fighting age men coming across the border, and you got Middle Eastern people coming across the border, and you know, every nation on earth is coming through the Mexican border right now. I mean, it's not all for good reasons, because they love America. How many immigrants have we seen come here and hate America, bash America? You know, remember, we're all a bunch of nationalists and colonial racists.
Right, but I mean, when you talk about fighting age men, I've heard this story too. Like, 200,000 of these people are fighting age males that are going to come in here, and
I'm just saying the video I seen was hundreds and hundreds of Chinese men that all appeared to be in their early 20s. No families, no children. I mean, they weren't like trying to.
Right, but so they're going to get.
Why are they?
They're going to get ballistic plates and AKs and start war here. 200,000.
I think the AKs are already here. So,
but I mean, I think it's
who's shooting up the substations and the power stations?
Right, but I'm saying
the point I was making is they're working with the drug cartels down there, right? Mm-hmm. You got gang members that they're starting to discover that are Chinese gangs that are coming over there and working with the drug cartels because they can launder money and fentanyl, and you know what I mean. They're working together in this, so.
Right, but the thing is, when I heard people talk about these fighting age males coming across the border, they were making it sound like there is an army amassing that's going to try to start some kind of war with the American people.
I think when you, I think they are, but just different than what, I don't think it's like Red Dawn or
right. That's how people have made it sound. They
Koreans are going to be parachuting in.
Not even that. They're sensationalizing it like all these fighting age males are coming across, and somewhere there's all this gear stored, and they're gonna. And I'm like,
when you've seen that they've already found 2 or 3 Chinese police posts.
Yeah, I've seen that story. Yeah.
Here in the USA, policing their own people, that makes sense that, you have people that are trying to escape that shit and get here for freedom, and then you have these people being smuggled in that are soldiers that are here to put pressure on the immigrants that are here in the country and to spy. I mean, war is very complex. I don't think it's about just getting a plate carrier and an AK-47 and
but I've seen some people sensationalize it, and I'm like,
I think it's a lot more nefarious.
It would take Texans about 10 minutes to dissolve that problem, right?
Absolutely. Good luck. Just Texas alone. The rest of us just pop popcorn and watch.
But when I heard some of these stories coming
Right.
out, that's how they were making it sound like.
You would need millions of these guys with AK-47s to come in here, and it's not going to happen.
Right.
It can't happen that way, and that's why I think it's a lot more nefarious.
Now, maybe
what's
more
really
to the
going on.
point, yeah, you could have a nation out there paying off certain people to allow this to happen, just to systematically collapse the
Exactly.
U.S. Sure,
Which is
I've heard those theories floated out
Yep.
there, and
they're smuggling, drugs back and forth
Right.
and money, and heaven forbid, they would find a prominent family in this country and start giving them money, right? And then the son money and the all the relatives money and all the grandkids get Chinese money. I mean, that could never happen here in this country, right? So
Did you see that 11 Americans a day are dying from fentanyl?
Yeah.
And they said that number could be as high as 12, 13, 14 by the end of the year.
I'm glad you brought that up, because we were talking about New York and
Let's
what's going
find
on
that
there.
just to make sure.
The report I seen today, they got vending machines now with crack pipes and Narcan,
in the Narcan.
and it was emptied overnight. Yeah, it's got lip balm for your lips, because your lips get chapped when you're smoking crack all day long, right? So and some of the crackheads were complaining that the pipes weren't good enough. They're too thin. They like a heavier walled glass pipe to smoke their crack in. So apparently the government's cheap on their production of crack pipes. That being said, in this report it said every 3 hours someone overdoses in New York City and dies. Every 3 hours, someone dies of a drug overdose in New York City. Okay. Wow. So let's put this into perspective a little bit. You're telling me that between your potential of overdosing and dying in New York City, being thrown in front of a subway car in New York City, straight up raped and murdered in New York City, the greatest threat to the country is either white extremists or just people owning firearms and being able to defend themselves. You want to take away assault weapons, which no one can even define what the hell that is. You want to take the AR-15 away from people, because we've seen Lizard Man in California has got the 28th Amendment he's trying to push through now. Because if it saves just one life, it saves just one life. And I'm telling you, the report I read today, every 3 hours, someone dies of a drug overdose in New York City. What about that one life? So could we slow down the flow of fentanyl a little bit so that all of our young people, what was it, over 100,000 young people died? Drug overdose? But you know what I mean? So you can't-
110,000 Americans died from drug overdoses, according to preliminary data from the CDC. It's an average of 300 people per day. No, that's all drugs. I was trying
Right,
to find
that's all
fentanyl
drugs.
specifically, but when you said that,
Yeah.
when you said 100,000, yeah,
So
I'll bring that up. So,
that, it's just interesting to me
NPR
that
also.
you want to stand at the podium, not you, but
Yeah.
the powers that be, and lecture me that, with their armed security, mind you, that I shouldn't have the right to own an AR-15 because it just saves one life, even though the vast majority of gun deaths are self-inflicted. A. B. They're done with handguns. Mass shootings predominantly are done with handguns and not rifles at all. And now you want to make 400 million, Americans felons in the U.S. because of a piece of plastic on their AR-15 pistol. None of this makes any sense. And if people would just stop, just slow down, back up, and listen to them statistics, where are we going to make our effort if we really truly want to save people's lives?
well, we know that
Right?
that's not the case,
Exactly.
right? We know
But
that.
there are people that believe that shit. So you got to speak out about it. You got to keep beating that drum over and over and over until you can get
Just-
enough of it out there that people stop and they
Just-
go, hey, wait a minute. Why? If we really wanted to save people, because I think some of these people that are for gun control probably do have good intentions. You know, like they truly want to save
Right,
people.
right.
No one wants anyone getting shot. No one wants a school of kids getting shot up, you know, unless you're some sick POS. But
And it's my understanding, you know, if you look, they say, "Oh, let's do this."
yeah,
I want before I even say it. I'm gonna-
bring it up. I want to fix problems, and there's solutions. There's things we can
But-
do to fix problems. So let's fix this shit. You know,
But the problem is they don't want.
they won't allow it. You can't have a conversation.
We know that if
anymore.
they wanted to fix anything, they would just pass the bill, the Safe School Act that they didn't pass, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Which put a couple armed guards in each school, gave funding for
Easy enough.
reinforcements at entrances,
Can't
right?
do that, man.
It gave training and stuff for
Can't
educators,
take
right?
that money away from the Ukraine. Come on. You know, they need that money. So that the big guy can get his 10%, right?
See, okay, so what I had heard is when they say, I'm trying to find the number.
And it's hard because the article I
Okay.
read was over 100,000 fentanyl deaths in America
Okay.
in a year. So,
Yeah. Well, I was going back. I was
Who
going to the
knows?
school shooting thing because I had seen some like 84 school shootings this year.
yeah,
Have you seen these inflated numbers?
right.
And from my understanding, when I did a little bit of research, very little, but it sounded like if there was a shooting on school grounds, even if school wasn't in session, even if it was an
Right.
abandoned
It's-
school that wasn't open
Sure.
anymore, they put that into the number as a school shooting. So people
Like
go out,
mass shootings, if there's 3 people that get shot because of a gang fight over, you know, a corner of who wants to sell their crack there, that's considered a mass shooting. And that gets brought into the statistics that they use to help try to pass these
right.
gun laws.
So here's one that says. And one is too many. Don't get me wrong
Right.
here. It's
And we can-
ridiculous.
we
It's
can
ridiculous
stop
it's ridiculous that you know
in America that this even
right
happens.
that
This
that
should never
that
be allowed.
the kids are political pawns and
Yep.
they have the opportunity to pass these bills and they don't. But then Ukraine needs 150 billion dollars and we just sign a check to them and they get it right.
Yep,
Why isn't there 150 billion dollars to harden our schools?
exactly.
People need to ask themselves these questions
We're
and
hard-
realize
we're
that
protecting the border of Ukraine.
realize that this is
You know,
politics. That's all it is.
It's all politics.
It's somebody.
That's why when one of these kids, there are
You
politicians.
can't ban certain guns as long as school shootings keep happening.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just say how it is.
Right.
Right. Because if they wanted school shootings stopped, they would stop it today.
Exactly.
And why people keep playing these, these mind games like, well, they can't, or we don't want a militarization of schools. It doesn't mean we have to have people in camouflage and tack gear with
Right, with armored personnel
Right.
vehicles parked out front. A
Right.
couple of armed guards,
couple.
pillars being put in front of the door so that you can't drive your vehicle through. I mean, just look at when you go into a bank. I go into the bank. It doesn't feel like I'm going into a military base, but yet that's probably one of the last places you want to walk into with bad intentions. Like banks have a lot of security, and it's not always that obvious, So why can't you put barriers in front of the doors so that you can't drive a car through the doors? You use bulletproof glass, couple of armed guards, and basic clothing, Nice pair of khaki pants and a polo shirt. Boom.
Yeah, because inner city schools have metal detectors and security, right? Because
Right.
they face these problems, right?
Sure.
So why all of a sudden? Yeah, right
We
here,
can
Detroit
fix
school,
this.
Detroit
Yeah.
school, right here.
Bring it up. See it? It's got a good picture.
Yeah.
There we go. Look at that, guys. Right there.
Yep. Look, experts say metal detectors and other security measures put in place decades ago to quell gang and other violence in many urban schools have made them tough targets for mass shootings by troubled students or outsiders.
Yep.
Security guard,
Security guard.
metal detectors.
That easy.
This has been decades.
Yeah.
This has been a
Look,
thing.
man, you gotta go through this shit yourself if you want to get on an airplane. But you're against doing this for school with your child?
Right.
What sense does that even make? It doesn't even compute in my brain how this is even up for debate.
It's not, again, political, right?
Yeah.
It's all political. We can't ban guns if,
Right.
we got to keep, it's like,
Yeah.
it's like as long as these things keep happening,
I'm
it's just
telling you,
chipping
there
away.
are
It's just
politicians
chipping away.
that
Eventually,
inside they're celebrating every time one of these kids get hurt, and they can't wait to run and jump up on that box in front of the podium and start calling for gun control, just like Lizard Guy in California there.
I haven't seen this.
Yeah. It's
Oh, this, yeah, right here. During the mid-'80s, Detroit was one of the first districts in the nation to put permanent walk-through metal detectors in high schools and middle schools. New York schools also had them in some buildings. By 1992, metal detectors had been installed in a few dozen Chicago high schools, and in 1993, under pressure to make schools safer, Los Angeles District announced that it would randomly search students with metal detectors.
Yep. And I could be wrong, but it seems to me like a lot of these school shootings that's happening right now are not even the students. It's people outside of school that are coming in to just to
It just blows my mind that
this. We could fix this.
right.
You want to tell me that we put
But people-
Americans on the face of the moon, and you want me to believe this shit, right? But you can't solve this? Really? Come on, man. This is easy. We could fix this. We could fix the border. We could bring immigrants into this country. We can get people back to work if you could have the conversation, and you can't. They have this set up so bad now that the minute you try to have just a fair conversation with someone, like you're a racist, a bigot, a homophobe, it's to the point now, if you put an American flag in your front yard, you're some nationalist terrorist. You end up on a watch list.
Really?
This is wrong.
Put an American flag in your front yard.
This is why the FBI, hey guys, the FBI, we know now, have infiltrated Catholic churches.
What?
Spy on the congregation. Yeah. That was leaked out a few weeks ago. Because
What? I
they
didn't see
think that,
this. What's this
Catholic
about?
people are.
Man, we have some hard segues here.
Yeah.
What's that about?
Which one?
The,
Because, okay, for one, the American flag, you're a patriot.
no,
Right? So they automatically are kind of watching you there. But the Catholic Church they believe that if there's resistance to, look, from trans issues and abortion issues, and where's some of this stuff going to stem from? Well, who's going to be, where's the first place that people are going to speak out against it? Possibly in church. So they put FBI agents undercover in Catholic churches around the country to kind of keep their ear to the, just in case, someone wanted to abduct Governor Whitmer or something.
man, what a
right?
good plan. Like if you could seed somebody from a young age
Uh-huh.
to be a priest, and then they're in that
Oh,
confession
yeah.
box just listening. Just
Yep. Just
tell me more, son.
Yep. Tell me more. The Lord's gonna forgive you. Just
Okay.
give it all to Daddy.
All right. Well, yeah, I hadn't seen this story. We'll bring this up.
Sorry, I didn't mean to blindside you with
Oh
one.
no,
I
that's
assume
cool.
that
And
you
that's
had
why we
seen
do
it.
this, because we consume different
It's
stuff.
just,
So
yeah. Oh, I was so pissed off. It's just typical. Get rid of the FBI, man. It's time. That organization needs to go away. All it is.
But aren't they investigating Biden now?
Oh, I love it. Well, I mean, I guess. They have been for what, 12 years now.
Didn't something just
It's
come out?
still under investigation.
Didn't
Yeah,
something
they
just
they
come
were
out?
taking. Congress wanted the document because when Biden was the vice president, it was informant from the FBI, one of their most trusted informants, one of their most longest, well-paid informants that they've ever had, brought to their attention, like, hey, and some of these, this stuff that I'm spying on, like Biden's getting paid off a lot of money. And this has been under investigation for a long time,
Oh, it's been a long time?
Oh yeah, it's
Okay, I
been
just heard
years.
about this
Well, because
yesterday.
Congress just found out about it from a whistleblower, and they wanted the documentation from the FBI, and the FBI refused to give it to them. So they were, what was it, the director of the FBI? I
don't know,
think
let's see
they
what this
threatened
story
to
says.
throw
Oh,
his
here
ass
it
in jail for it. Yeah,
What
$5
is it?
million. from
FBI
Burisma.
informant document alleges Joe and Hunter Biden were paid $5 million by Burisma.
Irish $5 million each.
Just how many people know about the whole Burisma thing?
Yeah, I mean, so because the election,
Keep talking.
the election was fair, man. Like 80 million people really voted for Biden. That was not a fair election. Now, granted, look, I'm not gonna say like there was, the voting machines were hacked and all this shit. Like, fine, but no one could keep a straight face and say that that was a fair, honest election. There was so much cheating, so much misinformation, so much shit that should have been known by the people that was buried that you couldn't talk about. You were censored to death. Like the shit on that guy's laptop was so bad that they had a website that put up 30,000 photos that were edited to take out nudity and stuff, right? And they were still so bad that the website was torn down in 24 hours. They had to pull it down because it was too offensive. Like, this guy's, driving around on video in Virginia smoking crack. Time stamped, date stamped. You can see the scenery where he's at. I'm pretty sure that's illegal, and there's no statute of limitations on that. Is anyone gonna, no, we're gonna go after Donald Trump
Here,
for
let's
documents again.
Let's.
Oh,
You want to see this one?
what are you bringing up? Man,
I
my
wanna-
blood pressure. I'm gonna have to take a blood pressure pill after tonight, son.
This is. Yeah, this I didn't understand all this.
Example, I was, not but it just happened to be that would.
Okay, let's give
Yeah,
this a
let
second.
it load up.
I'm trying. I wish I knew what year this is from because I
Is this
just
the one
found-
where he admitted that the quid pro quo?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was when he was a vice president.
I wonder what year this. Oh, it was when he was vice president.
Yep.
Okay.
And it gets worse, like
Because I didn't know.
Oh yeah, like
Let's-
he outright admitted it on
Okay.
video.
Let's Okay, let's let the viewers listen.
Concrete example, I was, not but it just happened to be that was the assignment I got. I got all the good ones. So I got Ukraine. And I remember going over convincing our team or others to convincing that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there's another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out the press conference. I said, I'm not going to, we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said, I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours. I looked at it, I said, we're here in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a bitch. You got fired. If the prosecutor's not fired.
And that prosecutor
Okay.
was investigating Burisma,
But it just happened.
Okay.
and his son just happened to be on the board.
See, this is where, this is what, I'm just hearing about this after the FBI investigation yesterday that came out about.
This is shit you should have heard about when he was running for president. This is shit you should have heard about when he was still the vice
So
president.
lay this out for me then. Help me understand here what's going on.
So there is a prosecutor that's investigating. Now, look, guys, I'm not a political analyst, so bear with me a little bit. This is going to be a little bit messy, and you can fact check all this shit, but I'm telling you, I've seen this reported like 1,000 different websites now. This is known. There's shit that supports all of this that was in the Hunter Biden laptop. Joe Biden didn't give a shit about Ukraine until his son got on the board over there. Right, so
Burisma's an energy company.
Burisma's an energy company. His son gets on the board.
Hunter's on the board of directors, I'm assuming.
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
So doesn't know anything about energy. They're paying him $80,000 a month doesn't even know anything about this energy. So they're dealing with like natural gas lines, shit like this. So all of a sudden now Dad's very interested in Ukraine and he's flying over there constantly. There's a prosecutor in the Ukraine that's investigating Burisma, this company, for corruption. Joe Biden, Congress guarantees a loan to the Ukraine to help develop, because look, there was Republicans involved in this. Like the whole goddamn government's dirty. Like there's a lot of people with this shit on their hands because they were all going to make money. This is how all these senators that make $180,000 a year after 3 years are multimillionaires and billionaires. This is how it works. So this investigation's happening. Joe Biden goes over and tells the president over there, you need to fire this guy or you're not getting the loan. No, this loan guarantee came from Congress. He doesn't have the authority to do it. And that's why he's laughing and saying, yeah, well, call the president and see what he says. So that was illegal. That's a quid pro quo right there, admitted on video, openly admitted from his own mouth. Then you have information in the Hunter Biden laptop that supports it. And there was a phone call, I kid you not, that was on, I've listened to it 3 or 4 times now, that's on the laptop that has been released now, that Biden calls, he's getting the bank that they're dealing with over there shut down. They're having another bank buy it, and he's panicking because in a couple of days, Donald Trump's going to be the president. And he doesn't want Donald Trump. He says it. I don't want him digging around in here finding things. So we need to wrap this up. Like, come on, put some pressure on these people and get this deal done and signed so that the paperwork all disappears. It's all done and over with. This is what Trump kind of, he caught wind of, and he made the phone call and said, hey, what's going on in there? You need to look into this. So what they did, they psyoped it. They blamed Trump for doing what Biden did and tried to throw him in fucking jail for doing what Biden did. This is what Joe Biden did. And he was going to get caught. And the FBI, the CIA, all these corrupt-ass alphabet police just buried it and tried to...
You couldn't write a better script.
Oh, yeah. Man, I'm telling you, they got to make a movie of this.
Oh my God.
This is so mind-blowing corrupt. Like, and look, man, I wanted him to be, Joe Biden to be thrown in jail, our child sniffer in chief. No, his brain's so mush. You throw him in prison, he'd think he was on a beach in Tahiti anyways. Like, it doesn't matter. Throw him in a nursing home. Get him out of there, but people need to go to jail for this shit, man. You're trying to throw Donald Trump in jail for bullshit, and you got one of the most corrupt, and they're all corrupt. You know what I mean? Like, look, you're gonna go after Trump for this shit now? Fine, let's do it. And if he broke the law, throw him in jail. But you know what? I want Hillary Clinton thrown in jail for all of her documents that she had on the server, all the data that she destroyed with hammers. Remember? And then the bleach program. And did you wipe your server? What do you mean? With like a rag? She knew what the hell they were talking about. Throw her ass in jail. Obama, war crimes. Throw his ass in jail. He was blowing people up he didn't have the right to fucking blow up. Throw him in jail. Bill Clinton, well, I mean, we all know about Slick Willie and Pedophile Island over there, right? How many times did he fly on that fucking plane? Throw his pedophile ass in jail. George Bush, throw his ass in jail for war crimes too, for starting illegal wars and shit. How many fucking people did they kill for nothing? For the war machine, so that they can make fucking money in Halliburton. Oh, sorry guys, sorry for the cuss words for people who's got kids. It's my trigger. Like, I have been lied to so much throughout my life, and I bought into this shit, you know. And then you find out that it's Lockheed Martin and Halliburton and you know the Cheneys and all these people, these elitist pricks that want to make money. And I see John Kerry flying around the fucking world lecturing us about our carbon footprint and how all these cows they want to kill, and now they're making it almost impossible for farmers to grow crops. They're stealing the farmers' land. They're taking away the fertilizers because of fucking cow farts, because they want you to eat bugs. And then if you do get beef, it's got to be beef that was fed bugs. You think John Kerry and these guys are going to eat bugs? No, they're going to have grass-fed beef.
From Japan.
Oh, yeah. You know, the best fillets, right? Because they're elitist pricks. They're better than you. They deserve it, and you don't. Get in your pod and eat your fucking cricket. You know, that's what it is. And I'm so mad. Because I bought into this stuff, man.
Comment below if we need to take another month off. You've been holding that in for a while, haven't you?
Yeah, it's just been brewing, and like I'm watching this corruption, you know, from the Biden administration, and it's like, look, man, like Trump or not, I'm not a huge Trump guy. I've never have been. When we started this podcast, I think it was in our first episode, I said, man, you know, I love what Trump did. Some of the things that Trump did, I love, but man, I'm ready for someone new. Let's get away from this controversy. Let's get a normal person in, you know, that's not going to get on Twitter and say, you know, mean words and call Rosie O'Donnell fat pig and just, you know, whatever. I'm tired of all of the drama. No, man, with what they've done to him, like, come on. Look, please, Trump.
Again, it's almost like a deterioration, right? Like that, like the slow demise of the U.S.
It's being
like give us
pieces.
This is what we get for the choices,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Like either way, you're halved, right?
Yeah.
Like
yeah. It's almost comical, you know. Like you almost got to laugh about it because you step back and you look at this and you're like, in no reality is this even possible except this one somehow. Like I don't even understand it. Like 5 years ago, no one would have believed this shit. No one believed the Hunter Biden laptop. Like, had they not suppressed it, 12% of the people polled, the Democrats, Biden voters, 12% said they wouldn't have voted for him had they known that was real. That alone was enough to swing the election to Trump. Not counting everything else, you know, people
that's if that 12% still would have voted,
right?
Too, right?
And then,
so we don't know what percentage of someone said,
right.
they're voting.
I'm just not even going to vote it off.
So we don't know.
But that wouldn't have been a vote for Biden either, right? So
true.
It would have swung it.
Yeah.
And so I'm saying when you take Russia from Hillary Clinton and the FBI knowingly putting out false information that they knew that investigation was bullshit, spent millions of dollars of taxpayer money. Look, guys, they're stealing your money. They're stealing the future from your kids. These elitist fucks that just don't care about you. You think they're gonna fucking side with Antifa? You're the first fuckers that's going to the gulags because you're the ones burning shit down. So when they're ready, get FEMA camp at Walmart, bitch. Moldy bread, government cheese, bon appetit, eat your fucking cricket. You know, give me your black mass. Thank you for your service. They don't give a shit. Look what they did to Epstein. He hung himself with fucking toilet paper. Right. You know, they use you and use you. They're not your friend. They're stealing from us. They're stealing the future. They're destroying our country. They're tearing it to pieces so that they can enrich themselves.
Are they or is someone paying them to do it?
It's both. You know what I mean? 10% for the big guy. I mean, Joe Biden's grandkids are getting millions of dollars. Like, look, China, dude.
What a good plan if you were...
Call me. I'll give you my fucking checking account and the routing number. Just deposit some cash in there for me too. I mean, if you're gonna just like wire this shit over.
What a perfect plan if you want to destroy a country.
Yeah, Because you couldn't beat it military.
Jack-
We're Sparta, dude, right? This is Sparta!
All you gotta do
couldn't
is pay
beat our
Budweiser
military.
to put a transgender on a beer can.
And now the only reason people are afraid of our fucking soldiers is that, well, man, if we fight America and one of those guys jump in the foxhole and kiss us, are we gonna get? Is that gonna make us gay? Like that's what they're fucking
like-
afraid of.
You couldn't write a better.
You got the Navy flying like, oh,
And I don't know if
Come
I'm not
on,
saying
man.
that's what it is, but when you just step back and take a 30,000-foot view of this, you're like, man, if you wanted to,
yeah,
it's a pretty good
It just
plan.
looks like this shit's been implemented years ago, just seeds planted, and just
well,
kept,
first,
you know,
first
just
you'd have to buy.
deteriorate
First,
it.
you'd have to buy the people that could arrest you, right?
Right.
Because you'd have to convince people that they won't be arrested because these people are already, you know,
Right.
on the dole, right? Like, you'd have to take that out of the equation, right? And then once people weren't afraid of being arrested, then
And then you psyop everyone to laugh at our military, the greatest fighting force the world has ever seen. You know, and you're making jokes out of them. They're fucking making memes about this
how
now.
many?
You know, and you think people are not going to attack us now? This makes us safer.
And all you gotta do is
Come on, guys, man.
all you gotta do is spread some propaganda.
Yeah,
right? Inject some
this is
social
not
media.
a right or left thing.
And we brought
know?
this up on a podcast before, right? 19 of the 20 Catholic groups on Facebook were bot farms from Russia.
Right?
And what did they organize, like a Catholic group and another group to have a protest across the road from each other and got them fighting?
Sure.
Bot farms did
Yes.
this. So that kind of influence can get two opposing factions to show up on opposite street corners and fight each
Yep.
other.
And who wins? Who wins when that happens? You know? Come on, guys. We're not going to have a country left if we don't get in front of this and start demanding that these people are held accountable. Now, I understand that there is justice is supposed to be blind. This is what we're raised to believe in this country, and it's technically not. We know that the elitists get away with shit that we can't. Oh, come on. There's no insider trading. You know, Nancy Pelosi made all their millions of dollars fairly without cheating the system at all. Every one of these congressmen and senators that are millionaires, I'm sure it was all family money that's just they inherited, right? Like, we know that there's a certain amount of dirty shit that goes on behind closed doors, and we've accepted that for the most part. That Nancy Pelosi's husband got pulled over for drunk driving, never spent a night in jail. You know, you got pulled over and blew. You were as intoxicated as he was, and you blew whatever percentage it was in the sobriety test that they gave him. You went to jail, and he didn't. And we've accepted a certain amount of that. We've allowed that to happen. I guess maybe deep down because all of us hope that if we got to the lifestyles of the rich and famous, you know, look, I can speed a little, and you know, I'm a senator. You're not really going to give me a ticket, son, right? But this level is ridiculous. And now that they politicized it, like the Joe Biden Department of Justice just indicted the guy running against him for Banana Republic. Anybody? Banana Republic? I mean, what? Next, Joe Biden's going to win? They're going to roll his dead fucking corpse out there. And like Weekend at Bernie's, you know, someone standing behind him to wave, and then he's gonna win with 99.8% of the vote that he got, like Saddam and the rest of these dictators.
It makes you
like,
wonder, like, yeah, I don't.
oh my God! And we didn't even touch the fucking aliens yet.
I know.
Come on, man! Like,
No.
God, did you see that? Did you watch the video I sent you with the 15-foot tall aliens in the guy's backyard in Vegas?
No. I didn't.
Oh, I love aliens. Come on. You know, like Matt Walsh, big believer in extraterrestrials and UFOs and alien life. And like, I love Matt Walsh. dude, you're my bro. Like, we're going to disagree on Bigfoot because I know you're not a believer in that, and you know, I am, but as much as I believe in aliens and UFOs, like, there is something weird going on. And this whistleblower that hit, you know, the media circuit a few days ago, and he's like, you know, leaking out all this shit, but I'm not going to bring proof because that's top secret. And I'm like,
Right.
are you not a whistleblower? Like, isn't that what you're
this is
doing?
where I get
This is
suspicious.
kind of weird, you know?
This is where I get
Right.
suspicious of the intent. Watch what this hand's doing.
And it all seems to be happening while all these documents are starting to finally get brought forward to, you know.
Or, okay, so we go back to like, okay, so right, this whistleblower, right? All he
Right.
really said were things that other people told him.
Right,
He didn't have any like, hey, I was here and I saw this.
right.
It was, well, this high up official told me this, and this other official told me that, so I believe them. And I'm like, okay.
I watched
So
Matt
what-
Walsh break it down, and because at first I was like, this guy's full of shit completely. I don't believe nothing. I gotta admit, Matt Walsh did sway me a little bit that, okay, this guy's kind of destroying his career. No, that's not saying like there's not a bunch of Bitcoin in some offshore account for him, you know, that he's not going to retire to some island. You know, probably the one that Epstein's on, and Osama bin Laden and Jimmy Hoffa.
I think it's for sale.
Is it?
I think so.
I thought someone bought it already.
did they?
Yeah, they were going to build a resort there.
Oh.
I'm like, who in the hell would want to go vacation there at Pedo Island? You know, like, whatever, man. Just this world is bad.
So even like these videos, the Go Fast video, the Gimbal video, the Tic Tac video, right?
Yeah.
All these videos, right? They're all night videos of blurry objects zipping through the
Right.
sky, right? You touched on something important earlier. You said Lockheed Martin, Halliburton, like, okay. We know that,
Military tech.
let me double check my,
Got me so triggered, I fogged my glasses up.
so in the Gulf War, the first one, 1990, 1991, right?
Yeah.
I think it was the. I'm trying to just make sure I have my facts somewhat right here.
One of the
So it was the F-117 stealth fighter, right? Let's see if I find an image of one of these bad
just pretty
boys.
triangular looking.
Yeah,
Right?
let's okay.
Yeah,
just for
bring it
people
up
to
so
see.
that.
Here's just an idea of what this thing looks like.
Now look at when they're flying in formation. Look at that.
Yeah, see
that
these?
one right there? Yeah. I mean,
Right?
you
People?
know.
So we see these, right? If you're driving, whatever, when you get a chance, look up the F-117. All right.
Triangular shaped, you know,
Right.
very
Look what-
especially
now-
at that
now
point
look
in
what-
time, looked way different than any other aircraft
Look
that
what
we had.
look what this
That
PBS
was-
article said. The F-117 stealth fighter was in service for 6 years before the Air Force admitted to its existence.
Mm-hmm.
The super secret aircraft was born in 1978 at Lockheed's
Yeah.
so-called Skunk Works. Okay, that thing was born in 1978. We didn't know about it till 1990 when it was flying
Yeah.
over Baghdad.
Now they're saying some of that was because they reverse engineered some tech that they had
Maybe.
captured. from-
Maybe.
And-
Okay.
And I gotta think, okay.
Here's my problem
Maybe.
with what if this whole alien thing is because, you know, if they were flying that thing, if that thing was invented 20 years before
Right.
we ever saw it, it was
What
flying.
kind of
They
tech
said
do
it was
we have right
actively
now?
flying 10 years
Yeah.
before we ever saw it. Like they had refined it
Yeah.
10 years after they thought of it.
So imagine the
1978.
stuff that we got right
Right.
now that we don't know about, and sure. And
And now, if you were going to use one of these things, and you wanted to use it now,
right.
wouldn't you start claiming that
You would
aliens
let
aliens
people
are
believe it
real?
was aliens.
It was the aliens. They just
Right.
wanted to stop the war. It was
But
the
you know what,
aliens.
Matt Walsh brought up a good point. Like when this whistleblower come out, like they were having the press conference and stuff, and it was like 10 minutes long or whatever, and he sat the whole family down. He's like, "Look, guys, you got to watch this. You're gonna remember this day for the rest of your life." And he's like, "You know what?" Within a couple of minutes, his wife had gotten up and kind of wandered off, and the kids could just care less. No one gave a shit, and he was just surprised. Like, how can you guys not? It's only 10 minutes of your life.
Well-
Like, don't and like he said, you wouldn't have to explain this stuff away nowadays. Just leave leave people on their TikTok. No one cares.
Well,
like it's not
the
even
guy
a big
didn't bring
deal anymore.
receipts, so is
You
the
know?
problem. The guy didn't bring receipts.
But I'm saying
he
even
didn't.
on
He
the
didn't
videos,
go. He didn't go. Here's
like,
videos.
you
Here's
have-
videos that I, Snowden
Right.
out of
Right.
the secure place. Look, these are bodies.
And you
here's
have
the aircraft.
You have people like me with the shit on the wall and like
get it.
I believe,
I
and,
get
and
it.
you
I
with,
get
with
it.
right. So we
but I'm
plug
suspicious.
into that stuff and watch that, but the masses of people don't even care.
But I'm suspicious
You know?
because again, people don't trust their government.
Well,
for
that-
one,
some of it,
right?
sure.
So when the government's coming out telling
And
me
actually admitting it.
aliens are, it's like, okay, bro, like.
But I think when you got to go back and watch the video, and we'll definitely dig back into it again.
Yeah.
I want you to watch the video, and then we'll kind of kick it around some more. I'm curious to see if he'll change your mind, because the way he broke it down, it did. It swayed me back more that way than where I was, because I'm telling you, at first I was like, this is crap, and I still think aliens are real. I believe in some UFOs. I believe that it's taken advantage of too, and that there's some amount of it that's psyop to people, right? To cover up military tech, things like that.
Right.
I agree with. And then, I've been listening, I think it was Professor Hugh, I think is his name. I'll bring the receipts on the next podcast for that, and we can bring up some of his articles, but he really puts a biblical spin to this, that they're not actually aliens. Like, yeah, they're entities from another dimension. They're demons.
Oh.
And that they're telling people they're aliens.
That would
And this is why
explain a lot.
people, you open your third eye and you're communicating with these weird beings, and that's what the fuck they are. And the reason he said, and I listened to a really long podcast of his last week. It was just mind blowing good. But he was making the correlation of how he could prove this, because the UFO sightings, like the tech that it all stays within our understanding of craft, right? Like 80 years ago, there were saucers, they weren't Tic Tacs, right?
Yeah.
Flying around, like, so, and the speeds were speeds that were just beyond our grasp, like kind of
Yeah, I know what you're saying now.
exaggerated from us, but it was believable because it was, it wasn't, so that the sightings, the tech is growing with us as we grow and our capabilities expand.
Interesting.
So it was brilliant. And I thought,
Interesting.
wow, you know what? That makes sense. And he said, because it's demons lying to people, man, and they're right there whispering in your ear, yeah.
But if these maybe, but then why, like haven't there been some that they believe have actually stopped nuclear war here, like where they hovered over and disabled nuclear weapons from
But
being
in the
launched?
end times, isn't it foretold that the beast is going to rise from he's going to create miracles. Everyone's going to believe he's a great guy. They're going to think he's Jesus. They're going to worship him because he's going to cure cancer and do these wonderful things, and people will bow to him. Like, look at, he's a good guy, but he's not. The devil's greatest trick was convincing people he didn't exist.
It's interesting because I heard someone quoting scripture, and they said that they're talking about Neuralink and what
Yeah.
Elon Musk is doing, healing the blind, making
Right.
the crippled walk again. He's like,
Amazing.
someone else did that on this planet once.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, yeah, there was someone else that did that. There were actually more than one, I mean,
But it was interesting.
Right.
It was like, then you start thinking like, oof.
oh, yeah, the false prophet.
I'm not saying that Elon is.
Right.
I'm just saying like
Although,
you were saying
when you
about
look
the
on
false
Twitter,
prophet.
I mean, he is like wearing the armor of
But when you
the son
start
of
talking about the
Satan.
false prophet
Right.
and healing people and right, like
Yeah.
well, what's going on here?
Right. Oh, I'm telling you that I've been deep diving some stuff that just my brain hurt, and I thought, the greatest line I heard was from Pastor Jack Hibbs, and he says, if Jesus don't come back soon, it's not even going to be a surprise when he does. Like, the world's getting that foobarred, like, it ain't even going to surprise anyone. Oh, Jesus back? Oh, yeah. Oh, what took him so long? If you believe Revelations and those later books and it's even all through the Old Testament, there's all, the book of Daniel, and there's all kinds of prophecy about the end times in Matthew and stuff that, man, it's hard to look at days now and go, Yeah, I look, and we've talked about this on the podcast before. In every generation, there's always the guy on the street holding the cardboard, repent, the end is near, right? Like everyone believes that, but I've never seen so many things in my life line up that way. And I've never seen, look, there was always pastors that speak out again. Oh, that's just some crazy, that's David Koresh kind of shit talk, right?
Crucified him too, huh?
Oh yeah, right? So I mean, I'm just saying, like, was he a false prophet? I mean, I don't necessarily think he was a good guy, but like whatever happened to the Brave Indians was bullshit, though, right? Like, yeah,
right, we only get the government side of the story, right?
Sure. I mean, was he really a pedophile?
I don't know.
I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know him. I didn't go to his church. I very much believe he knew the book of Revelations very well, and he was.
I heard that's a lot of people
and
some of the people that got out, they were like, that's what was so intriguing is the way he could prophesy.
Yeah.
Right?
So was he a real prophet or was he a false prophet? It says it's prophesied that in the later days there's going to be many false prophets. Mm-hmm. They can't be a false prophet if they don't give you real prophecy, right? Like they have to perform some miracles, or he's just a crackpot, right? He's Nostradamus. Okay. Yeah, when you look back in hindsight, you can make this stuff work, but show me something, read his book and then predict something that's going to happen and have it happen then. So you got to be able to be able to do this, or no one would even believe you, right? Because even as much, and look, man, you can make some compelling arguments about Nostradamus and the Hitler thing, and wow, it's kind of.
I don't know enough about it.
Oh, you got to go in that rabbit hole. That'll make your brain hurt too. So I don't know, but you know what I do see now? Like there's probably 20 different ministries that I follow on a regular basis. Like I just digest a tremendous amount of this information each week. All of them are saying it. Like all of them are saying it. And I've never seen that in my life. I've always seen like the majority of the church be like, come on, yeah, I'm sure someday, like, it's just church after church after church saying, get your heart right with Jesus, son, because, rapture's coming, like,
remember that dream I told you about? About the fall? Remember that dream I told you about? About the fall? Yeah.
So, you got
we were talking about, while we're still on the biblical thing, remember the video I sent you about the guy that died and then came back?
Yeah. We were going to talk about
like,
that.
Hey, remember we go 15 minutes in?
Yeah. Let's
remember what he said? Well, it's nothing anybody's going to gain, I don't think. But remember what he said about the gnomes?
Yeah.
I don't want to.
And he was going from the darkness up, and you had to go past the weird one. But the higher you extended, the brighter it got, the more good it was. And it's pretty.
But he was actually talking to the gnomes, right?
Yeah, he was talking to the gnomes.
You remember that guy I told you about? His daughter died and came back? And when she was walking with her grandfather, what she was walking by?
Yeah, with the gnomes.
And when that guy said that on that video, I was like, holy crap. Because that guy was telling me about his daughter dying.
Right.
And for people listening, a guy actually was a person. I don't want to give any names because privacy.
Don't out him.
But this person was telling me about his daughter dying and coming back. They actually brought her back. And when she was dead, she was walking with her grandfather, and they were walking past gnomes. And the fact that video I sent you, that guy that died, there were gnomes there. Yeah. I'm like, oh, there's something. It just blew my mind away.
And it was kind of like, the people with the psychedelics, and some of them are coming back and it's like they're talking to the same people, right? Now, I get it now that there's enough people doing this stuff and the stories are getting out. Like, could you fantasize this because you've listened to Ian Crossland on Tim Pool enough times talk about, tripping or Joe Rogan or something. So it's in the back of your mind somewhere, and this is what you see maybe. But this shit happened when it wasn't really known.
Well, how could two people trip and have the same
experience?
Right.
And this is before like everybody really started, before it was common knowledge, right? So there's something to this, but like I watched a really good ministry about like no, don't open your third eye, man. Like that's not good. Like this is some bad shit can happen to you, and when you start messing around with that. So you got to wonder, who are you talking to? You don't know. It's like using a Ouija board. No, I'm talking to Granny. Are you? You know what I mean? It's like demons present as loved ones that's passed on, right? So I'll have to find this. It was a really good podcast about it. I'm gonna see if I can dig it back up, and I'll send it to you. You'll have to watch it. It was pretty interesting. It was a really neat take on that. But there's more to this. Obviously, there's a lot more to life than what the hell we know. And to think that, this universe that's ginormous, and Matt Walsh made this point about, especially conservatives, faith-based people have a hard time. Like, if a UFO landed, they would, in their front yard, they would say it was a psyop from the CIA, right? They're not going to believe it. They're just not going to, and it's because they feel like it attacks their faith somehow. And to me, I never felt that conflict. Like, to me, it always made sense that if God created this universe that's ever expanding, it goes forever, infinity, like, we would be the only life that he created. I understand that the Bible doesn't specifically say, because the Bible is earth-based for us, not for extraterrestrials. They probably have their own Bible and their own laws and rules, right? Now, do they visit Earth? I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe this is all demons and, paranormal weird shit, or maybe it's psyop from, covering up government tech, or trying to fake out your adversaries, like people that potentially you could go to war with, and you want them to think maybe you captured a UFO and you have some cool new alien tech that'll kick their ass, maybe. I'm sure there's some of that too. So I don't know that, have there been aliens here interacting? I don't know. There's a lot of reports now, though, that are coming out from other whistleblowers that are saying, look, there's aliens here. They're working with our governments. Like, this is known, So maybe it is. I know that when I was a kid, though, my mom, she told me once, God bless her, she said, someday a UFO is going to come up out of the ocean, and it's going to land, and someone's going to walk out and claim to be Christ, and people are going to worship him.
So
he might even tell you that you're God. And now I'm looking at society now, and it's like, wow, we do have a God complex going on, don't we? You know what I mean? God don't choose your gender. No one, you choose it, right? So it's like all these things like in the background are happening. It's like we kind of worship ourselves.
So you were talking about psychedelics, and
Yeah.
Okay. I don't mean to get too far off topic here, but in Catholic churches, they'll swing a censer, right, with incense and burning smoke, right? Mm-hmm. What does it say right here? God commanded Moses to make an altar of incense for worship in the tabernacle. Yeah. You shall make an altar to burn incense upon, of acacia wood shall you make it, right? Guess what has psychedelic properties?
Yeah.
So
now some of the opposing end of this, just to play devil's advocate, because I don't know, like, I'm just a Christian, like I was raised Baptist, but like, denominations, who knows? Yeah. You're always kind of saying your team's right and everyone else is hellbound. I'm not about that. I'm a Bible person. I read the book, but the part of the argument in this, though, is a lot of that stuff, but those practices were Old Testament. They're not supposed to be done now, right? It's we have access to heaven from grace, not by works, right? So this is why we don't sacrifice animals at the altars anymore.
Well, I have a theory on that too, because
of course I have seen scripture that says faith without works is dead, right?
Father Mike, in the Bible that I listened to, Okay, so before I get too far off on this, they had found some of these sensors from archaeological digs, and they
Yeah.
tested them, and they actually had cannabis in them.
Yeah.
So if they were walking around wafting these to the parishioners,
Sure.
they were getting them in a
In a mood.
right,
It's setting the mood.
right. Okay. Now, so Father Mike said, like, you're dealing with very early man, and you're setting out rules, right?
Right.
So some of these things might have been just to get people that are very wild, very not orderly,
Right.
setting some kind of order for them, right? So some of these things like the animal sacrifice, some of these rules that we read, we're like, oh my gosh, it doesn't make sense today, right?
Right.
Well, at one point, 1 + 1 didn't make sense to you, right?
Right.
But if you didn't learn 1.1, how are you going to learn 1 + 1? How are you ever going to learn calculus?
Right.
It's a building block, right, for humanity. So maybe some of these things were like, hey, go get a calf, like this, bring it here and do this, right? Because you're talking about very early people.
Right.
You couldn't expect them to do maybe some of the more of the complicated things we could do today,
Maybe.
right? So these were rules. These
But
were
again, there was pyramids built.
right.
Too.
Yeah, we
So,
don't know.
I mean, they knew astrology.
Which I have a theory on,
Or
right? I got
astronomy.
another theory here, right? Like we keep saying
So were they as simplistic as
they couldn't have
I
been
don't
because
know.
we can't duplicate it today, right? So what if
They understood math then.
these weren't actually asteroids that hit the Earth and wiped us all out? What
Yeah,
if these
what if it
were
was us?
right?
Yeah, could have been. We've had the loop theory. We've talked about that lots of times.
People keep
man.
saying, "Oh, it's an asteroid. Does this impact? Does
was
that
it?
impact?" Maybe it was our own doing. Like right now,
Yeah.
maybe if we had World War III and
Right.
wiped everything off the
Just-
face of the earth, and
we
only a
grow
couple
so
people
much.
somewhere in some remote island survived and started populating again, and 100,000 years from now or a million years from now, they'd be like, "Wow, what wiped out
It says
the
it,
other civilizations? It must have been asteroids, but really it was nuclear
right?
bombs."
You're a
I'm
faith-based person.
spitballing
I
here.
mean, look.
I'm spitballing. Someone
And-
leave a comment if I could be even remotely close.
in Revelations, I mean, it says that, God, after the millennial, that God creates a new earth and new heavens, right? Like he starts over, he destroys all the old, and then so what happens? Do we get a new Bible? Does humanity start over? Is this what is happening now? Is this our, is this why that the Bible says we're, 7,000 years old, but archaeology says we're 100,000 years old or 1,000,000 years old? Like, is it because this is our just reoccurrence again?
You gotta think God's gotta be like, all right, shitheads, let's try
Right.
this again. We'll start from scratch.
The only
Okay,
thing-
get a cow, take it here.
Right, one that doesn't have blemish, not your lame three-legged fucking cow that you don't want. Like, you gotta give me the
You
good
just
one,
got to
right?
sign and be like,
Yeah.
well, here we go again, I guess.
Start
Like,
over. That's pretty good. So the one thing about faith, grace, and works that it did kind of make sense to me though is when you're doing it with works, like in a way it does kind of tarnish the sacrifice that was made for you. Like that wasn't good enough, Jesus shed his blood for your salvation, and you feel that you still have to do these works. On the other opposing argument is like, well, through God's grace we're saved. You should want to do the works though, just because, at least try to not be sinful and, out of love for God, wanting to be more like God, I guess. So I don't know, man. It's like, I watch different ministers from different denominations, and it's interesting sometimes. And I like the back and forth. It really makes me think. And it just, in the end, I'm just trying to be a better person, right? And, I believe in Christ. I believe he died for us. I believe he was crucified by us, and he rose from the grave, and that he'll come back someday. Hopefully not too much longer, because the world's really getting jacked up. It's just not, it breaks my heart, man. Like, I'm not against anybody. I'm not against immigrants. I know, like, sometimes you could take a soundbite from something I say and go, oh, he's a homophobe, or, you know, he's against trans people. I'm not against no trans people. I don't give a shit what you do. You know, you're an adult and you want to chop your wang off. I guess, like, I would tell you don't, because we'll change your mind someday and want to use it, you know, but whatever. Do you, man. I respect it. Let me be me. I'll let you be you. Leave the fucking kids alone, though. Leave the kids alone. Let them get through puberty. Let them figure this shit out. And then when they're adult, if they still want to do that, fine. And get guys out of women's locker rooms. Jesus, if you got a wang, if you got a dick, you're not a chick, right? So I get it. If you go through you've been on the hormones and you did the, you know, and now you're kind of in there with the girls, I guess. But, you know, you're watching these athletes now jumping back and forth, like, you know, a month ago I was a guy, but now, you know, I'm identifying as a girl, so I can go beat these girls in track. Like, this ain't right. That ain't right, man. We gotta kind of fix this a little bit so that it's fair. You know, you want girls to be able to compete, and I want trans people to be able to compete. Like, I'm not against trans people at all. I just think that we can do this the right way without just making chaos and just burning shit to the ground. Like, because right now the country's getting like torn to pieces, and my God, man, I don't know. Like, if they throw Trump in prison over this, you know,
They're not throwing it.
oh man, I don't know, dude. There's man, if you really wanted to get rid of Biden, it'd be a good way of doing it. If you knew, you know, you get rid of Trump, and then you can use that as the catalyst to get rid of Biden too. But he could pardon himself.
They're just trying to.
I want to see him go to prison and still run for president and get elected while he's in prison, then pardon himself. Wouldn't that be like crazy?
They're just trying to get. They just need the clickbait headlines. That's all they need.
I don't know, man. Like, this is beyond it. This is federal. Like, this is the Department of Justice
I know.
going after him. And they did arrest him last time. Like, this is getting worse. Like, the fires are getting hotter. I think they're really trying to burn him with a felony so that he can't run.
I'm telling you,
But if they do that,
they're-
maybe they're just trying to start a civil war. Like, that's what they want. They want people rioting in the streets. I mean, we seen what happened in January 6th, you know. Don't wave a flag and walk through the Capitol. I mean, you'll disappear.
I really think they're just trying to get the headlines. That's all they need. Just like the Russia collusion,
Yeah.
right? There's still people who believe the Russia collusion. They still
people
believe
that.
they believe all that shit. They believe, you know, this late. What was
You
the
think
last
Trump's
one?
in on this?
No, I don't
No?
think he's in it. What was the last one in New York about the lady in the dressing room? And
Oh, yeah, the
people
rape.
still believe that.
Even though the jury said, no, he didn't rape her. But he probably sexually harassed her, so we're going to fine him. You know, like, what do you have to pay her $5 million or something? I think it was.
It's funny. I want to show you this video. This is funny. It's not funny. It just says so much about when I first saw it.
Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute. What? And then I understood.
A white man is identifying as a lesbian woman of color, and people are upset about it.
Councilperson Ryan Webb announced publicly on social media that he now identifies as a lesbian woman of color. If he were serious, I'd sing his praises. But instead, I know better.
In none of my jobs in the last 21 years, and that is many, many jobs, would I have been permitted to mock and disrespect my customers.
And if that were true, we would all be proud of you, and no one would be denying your right to do such things and to identify by your heritage. But your open mockery of these communities is insane.
In order to demand for the resignation of Ryan Webb. The posts Mr. Webb made on April 12th were offensive on many levels.
After hearing these complaints, Ryan Webb responded.
I'm being dead serious. You don't get to question me. You do not get to require proof from me. You require the movement to help establish these rules and set the bar.
Touche, Councilman.
Exactly.
Touche.
I've seen that. Yeah. And it's true.
It popped up the other day, and I'm
You
like,
know?
oh, this is how crazy we've gotten.
Yeah. This, like, they have blurred reality to the point that no one, between, you know, AI images, you got, you know, Trump kissing Fauci from the DeSantis campaign, like, the shit
So
started
how
to
do
look
they
so
get to
good,
decide if he does or doesn't identify that way? Now they
yeah,
get to
how do you
decide.
get to decide that?
Like,
What, you gonna vote? Like you got to win the majority of people? Is that how you decided? This is why
I get the point of
you can't
I
do
can
that.
kind of see the way that thing was leaning, but at the same time, I'm like, wait a minute, they, like you said, they made the rules.
They made
like,
the rules, so this is
I
why
don't
you
know.
you gotta back
It's
this
so-
whole thing up because it's getting so convoluted that. Look, man, there's so many different genders and pronouns. Like I can't keep up with this shit. You know, I don't know, man. There's him, her, he, she, they, it,
I think it's meant to.
them, Zig, Zurg. I said Zurg. Well, I identify with Buzz Lightyear, man, because like he's against Zurg, the evil Emperor Zurg, and it's like it's not Zurg, it's Zig, or I don't know. Like, and it changes every day. Like, there's so many damn colors on that flag. No one even knows. There's so many letters in this now. Like, even the people that are in those groups are fumbling when they're trying to say. I'm not even going to try to go down the list of the alphabet because I'll screw it up. I admit
again,
I can't keep up with it.
The fact that they could get two opposing groups, a religious one,
Right.
to meet on opposite street corners and fight, right?
Right. And that's why I said, like, look, man, no, you're not supposed to be enemies, guys. You got to stop, back up. Look at this. Who is getting power out of this? You know what I mean? Look at what happened with Black Lives Matter, that organization. Who got rich? You know? And look at when the guy on the subway got choked out and he died. You know, and AOC's all pissed off and bitching about that. But you know what? How many days leading into that was she down there giving that guy some bread and water because he was fucking hungry? You know? Where was Al Sharpton? He's a millionaire. You know, you couldn't have given this guy a couple $100 and got him a hotel room for a week. You know, let him take a hot shower, take him to McDonald's. Like, no one cares till you die, and they can make money off of it. You know, like they're not your friends. Guys, these are evil, shitty people that care about power and money, and when it all pops off and it hits it, they got a fucking bunker to run and hide into, you know, with clean water and filtered air. Mm-hmm. It's us common folk, you know, look, they're setting this shit up now, it's almost medieval. Like, it is to the point when we got to eat crickets, and they catch you out back trying to shoot a rabbit. How dare you shoot the king's deer? That's his majesty's deer, you know? And they're going to hang your ass from the gallows for it. Like, we've done this before, right? Like, we fought against this because we didn't like that shit. Every man should have the right to go out and shoot a deer and eat, you know? Like, now because of cow farts, you know, and you can't have a gas stove and, like, everything's so backwards and crazy. And then you got Lizard Guy in California. I'm going to keep bringing up Gavin Newsom. I hate that, man. You know.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, you got to look it up. The 28th Amendment. You know, he's trying to amend, and he wants to change the age to buy a gun to 21.
We'll have to get into that next week.
Yeah, you got to love it, man. So you got to be 21. You got to be 21 to buy a gun. You got to be 18 to vote. You got to be 16 to drive, and you got to be 6 to cut off your dick. Let that sink in.
All right. I think we did some damage here.
Yeah.
Talk to you guys next
Thanks,
week.
guys.
Talk to you guys later.